This is the Soul-Filled Sisterhood podcast, and I'm your host, Nicole Burgess, licensed marriage and family therapist and an empowerment mentor for women. The information shared in this podcast is not a substitute, nor is it to convey professional, psychological, financial, or medical advice. If you could use such services, please seek them out from someone you trust. Now here is today's episode. Episode 17. Today's episode is sponsored by Nicole Burgess, Empowerment Mentor for Women. You can go to NicoleBurgessCoaching.com and sign up for her workshop called Good Girl Meets the Spiritually Awakened Woman. Now here is today's episode. Well, welcome, sisters. I'm very excited to have this conversation with you today. I'm going to talk about where our limiting beliefs come from and some ways to actually begin to break through those limiting beliefs so that you can actually create the life that you want, where you're living more on purpose, living more soulfully, creating those relationships that you crave to have, and truly finding more peace of mind. I want you to imagine right now an iceberg where you see just the tip of it above the water, and then the rest of it is below the water. The part that is above the water is called your consciousness. This is where you've got your conscious mind, meaning you process your information, you judge things, you obsess over things, you analyze things, you criticize, and you worry in this part of your mind. It can jump from thought to thought, and it's really that prefrontal lobe, which we know isn't fully developed until our mid-20s. That subconscious mind is the big piece that is actually below the water. It is actually the part of your brain that has fully developed as soon as you were born. It's the non-analytical part of your brain. It's the feelings, it's the instincts. It takes in all outside information. It has no filters, and it has no idea what is true or not true. We take in all the verbals and the nonverbal information of what people are saying with zero ability to filter it. And this is where our limiting beliefs are stored. So I was reading something recently, and I can't remember the source of it right now, but by the age of 4, it is estimated that 50% of our limiting beliefs are formed at this age, by the age of 4. Then between the ages of 5 to 9, another 30% are formed. So if you think about this, by age of 9, 80% of your beliefs are shaped and ingrained in your subconscious. So that means your beliefs about love, security, learning, generosity, about money, all of that. It's remembering too that our beliefs lead us to our actions and our behaviors. The subconscious really is the blueprint of our life. So an example would be, let's say you were growing up and your dad or your mom said, hey, money doesn't grow on trees. And you watch them really struggle with attaining money or, keeping money, that sort of thing. So now as an adult, you can have that going on like, oh yeah, I'm making a lot of money. But on the subconscious level, you're taking that on as money equals struggle. So maybe you're doing a lot where you get money and then you lose money right away, or you attain money, but then you have this underlying fear that if I do that, then I'm going to be abandoned. Another example would be consciously you're like, hey, I long to find my ideal mate and I want to get married, but subconsciously you tell yourself, or you have this belief that intimacy leads to pain and to suffering, because maybe what you saw was your parents fighting all the time, arguing all the time, putting one another down. And so that's what you have in your belief system. Again, remember, they're formed really early on, that's what love looks like. So part of what we're going to talk about today is, one, becoming aware of these limiting beliefs and ways that you can begin to change them. Oftentimes, these limiting beliefs, they're created in a lot of different ways, but mostly, again, they're created through emotionally powerful events that happen during your childhood. So, for example, if you have this belief that I don't fit in or I'm not good enough, that may stem from when you were in elementary school, middle school, and you didn't get picked in your gym class to be on a specific team, or you had people that made fun of you, or maybe your parents even told you you wouldn't amount to anything. So those experiences, you then continue to create certain things in your life now where that reinforces that belief. So our limiting beliefs form in response to an event that happens in your life, but that event itself has no inherent meaning. So think about that. The only meaning any event has is the meaning you give it. And what that means is it's your perceptions that you filter these events through. It's how you uniquely interpret that event that gives it the meaning. That's why you know that when people say you can have two people can experience the exact same thing, but they will respond to it completely different. So most of the time what happens is we actually assign negative meaning about ourselves or about life to the events that don't turn out as we had hoped. Again, we're placing expectations onto others or events versus letting go of that expectation and just letting it unfold as it will, because we have zero control over how things are going to unfold. It's these negative interpretations or meanings that we assign to the events that create our limiting belief. Here's another example. So thought is, Sean broke up with me. I must not be lovable. And once you change the interpretation or the meaning that you assign to the event, you're really empowering yourself. So a way to flip that, right, is, hey, Sean broke up with me. We must not be well suited for each other. I'll keep dating and searching for my ideal mate. What you focus on or what you feed in your mind, you become or you do. So it's choosing which belief do you want to feed, the one that's more negative and limiting, or one that is more empowering and actually gets you closer to what you actually want in your life. Again, where you're living more on purpose and within your values. You truly do have a choice on what you assign to any meaning of any event that goes on in your life. All right, so now you're probably asking, so how do I even change this, Nicole? Well, one way to do that, I'm going to talk more about, which I've done in episode 1, where we talk about self-reflection, but it's also about the staying connected to God, to source, to the universe. Again, whatever name you want to give it, that is totally fine. And the reason why I think this is so life-changing for people, and that I talk about this so often because it is actually life-changing. It's when we are connected to source, there really is this unlimited power and unlimited resources there for us. We become more in flow when we're actually connected to, again, I call it this, your soul and to God. Everything is going to flow to you with more ease because you're in a very different frequency. If you go back to episode 8, where Carrie Nola and I were talking about kind of the gift of shadow, and we talked a little bit about vibration levels, right? All energy has a vibration, and it's all done at certain frequencies. So vibration attracts like vibration, and that is called law of attraction. So if I have a low frequency where I'm feeling really worried, or I'm being the victim in my circumstances, or I'm blaming others for how my life is, then I'm going to have a real low frequency. But maybe I'm thinking, but I have this projected out, high frequency outcome that I really want, but I'm going to end up disappointed because I'm not in alignment. I'm not matched up. So I need to raise my vibration level, because the thing is, I cannot fool the universe. The universe gets it, that if my actions and my thoughts are not lined up, right, what I'm truly believing in, it's not going to be able to give me what I'm really wanting, because I'm feeding more of that negative vibration level. I'm feeding more of that negative limiting belief than one that's much more higher frequency and more empowering. So when I'm at that higher frequency, right, I'm going to have opportunities and people, they're going to show up with more ease. And it's really having the belief or having the faith in what is not actually yet seen, right? You can have this vision in your mind of what you want to become or what you want to do, and you have to fully believe, meaning you have to have faith that everything is available to you, and that means staying connected to source. You also have to take action. Some people call this, inspired action, decisive action, whatever you want to label that, but you have to take action to go towards those things that you're really wanting in your life, whatever those goals may be. All right, so here are ways to do this. Step 1, you have to become more aware. So if you go back to episode 1, I talk quite a bit about self-awareness and the power of self-reflection. That's it. It's beginning to pay attention to what sort of thoughts do run through your mind. So let's say you're going after a job promotion. Do you have this I would really like to have that job promotion because it would mean I would have more income, which would mean I'd have more ability to put back for retirement or save for my kids' college fund, but I know I'm not skilled enough to do that. Right there, your frequency isn't in alignment. It's a very low frequency, right? Versus, got this job promotion. I'm so excited about the new position that I am in. I'm learning new things. I'm challenging myself. The higher salary is really helping me out. And you're taking inspired action, which means you're applying for it. That second step then is writing out or visualizing those new belief systems, right? When we begin to write down the old belief system and then write a new belief system next to it, like I talked with that example where, the person broke up with you, oh, you must not be lovable, versus the new belief is, oh, we must not have been a match for one another. I'm going to continue to go date and find my ideal mate. Remember, that's the inspired action, and it's in a higher frequency as well. Become really aware of those stories or those narratives that you're telling yourself. And the only way that you can do that is through awareness, which is through self-reflection. Those stories, those old beliefs, really, they're not your truth. You are the one who is the author of your life, not what your parents or caregivers or those events that happened way long ago. Those are things that happened in the past. You have the choice of whether you want to continue to move forward with those things or blaming or creating more excuses or change them. And that first step to do the changing, as I said, is having awareness of it. Then beginning to write down and visualizing those new beliefs. The next step I want to encourage you to do is look at those new beliefs 3 to 5 times per day. If you can, say them out loud. That way, your mind and your subconscious is hearing those things that you are desiring, and you're raising up, right, your vibration level in that. The universe, when you're staying connected with the universe, when you're doing the meditation, right, you're able to stay more connected to source, and you're putting all of that energy and that vision into the universe, and it's going to conspire with you, not against you. So as you're doing that self-reflection, pay attention to, are you telling yourself, I always, ... I never, I can't, I should, I wish, one day I'm trying to. Those are all very limiting beliefs. They're keeping you stuck in where you are versus where you want to be. If you remember back in episode 2, I talked about the good girl, right? And when you're in your adult woman body, if you're still having those same thoughts as the good girls, I don't deserve to, or it all happens to me, that again is very much when you were a little girl, where all those things were, placed into the subconscious. And now you're saying, as the adult woman, wait a minute, I'm the one directing my life. My parents aren't directing it anymore. I am. The caregivers aren't directing it. I am. So bad stuff happens to good people. It's how you choose to respond to it that makes the difference. So years ago, this has now probably been, I think about 12, 13 years ago, I was fired from a job. Let me tell you, that was really hard. And did I cry about it? Absolutely. Did I go, oh my gosh, why me? What's going on? I don't understand. Yes, my ego/false self had a heyday with that. And it took me a day or two to really start to pull back, journal about it, reflect on it. And I was able to get to this place of like, oh, okay. Boundaries were different between the employers and me. There was nothing I wasn't doing anything illegal or anything like that. It was some of the things I was standing up for didn't mesh with where they were at. And the funny thing is that God knew more, or if you want to say universe knew more about what I needed in my life, because I was envisioning myself of creating my own practice at that time. And I had fear getting in my way of taking that next step and making it happen. Getting fired was literally one of the best things that could have happened to me, because I ended up then creating my own business, having a mentor and a supervisor at that time that shifted so much of my limiting beliefs, challenged me in very compassionate and good ways. It helped me begin to realize that I didn't need to have the 9-to-5 job to create financial abundance for myself. It helped me realize that being my own boss was what I have been craving for decades. And it just allowed a lot more freedom and flexibility in my schedule, which truly helped with also for me being highly sensitive and being an introverted woman. It worked out so well. And that's what mentoring and coaching can do. So if you're finding yourself like you want to do things differently, whether it's in your personal life, in your professional life, having a coach or a mentor can really help you break through these limiting beliefs and thrive in a life that, as I like to say, is truly more purposeful, is more soulful. You really can have that happen. And if we stay just stuck in our own head, we're not going to typically get very far. So having somebody to help hold you accountable to things can really help you move forward and keep that momentum going because you're checking in with them. I am very grateful for all of the mentors, coaches, and even previous therapists that I have had so far in my life, because they have helped me get to where I am today. They have helped reflect back where I was getting stuck, getting in my own way, and truly up-level my life, both personally and professionally, in so many different ways. So I hope you found today's episode to help you begin to explore your own limiting beliefs, challenge those beliefs, begin to write new ones, and then visualize yourself in those new beliefs that you're creating. Feel them, experience them in your mind, and then take action to make them happen. And if you're liking what you're hearing, I invite you to go out to iTunes and leave a review. That helps really kind of spread the word out onto the podcast world, and I really appreciate you listening. Take care. If today's episode resonated with you and you are ready to make transformational changes in your life, to reclaim your power, your truth, and live with more ease, I invite you to schedule a 30-minute discovery call with me. Go to NicoleBurgessCoaching.com/inner truth.